Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. I don't know why my. Oh, there it is. There it is. My computer has been struggling with streaming and playing the game, so it was just a little bit laggy on the audio there. Um, I keep going back and forth between whether I really like the companion banter or whether it's a little bit too predictable and like trying to think of the right word to describe it, like predictable, shallow, obvious. Like some of the conversations are really like, okay, you're not really doing much to make these people seem multidimensional, like at all. But then others are actually like really fun and interesting. Like, I don't know if you've run into Tosh and Lucanus have this whole back and forth where apparently um, Tosh really looks up to the crows and is kind of inspired by the whole like reputation of the crows, and she loves that they wear capes. And there was this whole really funny thing. Um, actually in the same boat. Some of them are good, but some, especially for Harding, I found to be super uninteresting. She sounds like she's trying so hard in some banter. Yeah. Um, there was one period of time, I think I was running around Minrathis,
Stick around while they.
and I had Tosh and Lucanus with me, and he was basically trying to teach her how to, like, have the swagger of the crows. Like, basically, how to be, like, intimidating through charm, sort of thing. And she was not getting it at all. She was too fierce for it. and, but it kind of tied into, like, the battle, too. Like, the very next time we were fighting someone, she tried out the line that he gave her to try in the battle, which was awesome. Um, no, different one. Um, he was like he was saying like when you stab somebody, you look their companion in the eyes, and you're like the crows send their regards or whatever, and you're supposed to like smirk and look unbothered. And she wasn't really getting the whole like suave charm part of it. And he was like, well, there's more than one way to be intimidating. You could try roaring at them instead. So she gives a roar, and he's like, oh, yep, that'll do it. But then she tries it out on the next one, or on the next battle. One of the specific lines he gives her as an example. Um, you do remember that? Tosh is so faced. Yeah. Did you read the one of those conversations unlocked a codex entry that was like things her mother has told her about the crows? Um, that was a really funny one to read through. I guess I'll just go in order here.
Injuries.
And her whole example of like, oh, she doesn't tell me those stories anymore. And when he asks why, she's like, well, she caught me in the middle of the night standing up on the roof with a butter knife in each hand and the tablecloth tied around my neck like a cape. I was laughing so hard because that's totally something I would have done as a kid. Oops, wrong button. Oh, here, all the way down here. Yeah. I'm really curious now if it's all Kunari parents or just Tasha's, um, who basically used the Antivan crows as like the boogeymen to get their children to behave. Because it's written as like this is why Kunari children have to stay in bed, for example, or whatever. And I really want to know if that's a general Kunari thing, or if it was just Tasha's mom, who used them as her personal mom backup boogeyman sort of thing.
Greetings, Rook.
Beloved's home. I get the feeling it might have just been Tasha's mom. Can only imagine what Tash was like when small. Yeah, I think any parent, honestly, would have needed some boogeyman stories as parental backup with Tash as a kid. Wait. Ah, I hit the wrong button again. Let's see what secret ambitions Emmrich has for us. Or has to share with us, I suppose.
Now, what do you have to say for yourself?
Did I miss something?
Since we're here to gather flowers for the dead, I thought I'd teach Manfred some plant names. But I just caught him attempting to wade into a rose bush.
Emmrich, how could you stay annoyed at that face? Skull.
Oh, Manfred. Whatever will happen to you if I pass on?
If?
Ah, there's something I'd like to talk about. Do you know what a lich is, Rook?
Lich. That's Old Tavine for corpse, isn't it?
It's also D&D for trouble.
A lich is a mage transformed into one of the undead while retaining their true, original consciousness. The idea fascinated me when I was younger. For years, I researched and experimented, spoke with spirits and mages. Then, eventually, I found them.
Who?
The Lich Lords of the Grand Necropolis. Necromancers before me who'd transformed themselves into true living dead.
I'm very curious about... Because I'm pretty sure liches are naturally, like, presumed evil in the D&D world. I'm curious... They must not be that, like... What's the word I'm looking for? That big of a no-no, I guess, if he was able to research them that young, but... I mean... I like the humor options in this game because a lot of times they're sort of quasi-neutral in terms of like not expressing encouragement or resistance toward a certain thing. Like continuing the conversation without being like, oh, that's cool, or you're fucking kidding me, you know?
You're making this up, right?
Rook, please.
That's not what I
I've
meant.
told so few people.
Sorry.
The Liches are the great protectors of the necropolis, bulwarks against forces that threaten creation. After years of tests and rituals, they granted me my desire, the right to attempt lichdom.
Well, that's great for a necromancer, right?
It is a singular opportunity.
Good?
Lichdom is an incredible honor.
See, that's where I was a little bit. I was trying not to let my D&D brain influence my dialogue options more than necessary, because I'm pretty sure liches are generally, like, universally presumed evil in the D&D universe, but it doesn't necessarily mean they are in this universe. And now he's telling me it's an incredible honor, which would not have been what I would have expected, but fair enough. I guess it makes a certain amount of sense for a society filled with necromancers.
Mortality, prestige, the most hallowed ranks of the Watchers, as well as a chance to be of service past my allotted years. But there are considerations. Come, we have flowers to gather for the dead.
Okay, but I've got questions.
Blue creepvine. This will do nicely.
Emmrich, aren't most undead just random spirits inside corpses?
Liches are different. It wouldn't be a spirit acting in my name. My true consciousness would be housed in my departed flesh.
How?
The Order must keep some secrets.
I mean, fair enough, I suppose.
Moon blossoms, famed in verse and song.
Smells like perfume. Do liches have a sense of smell?
I've been told that while some of my senses will dull, others will become available. Other than that, I can't say if the flowers would still hold their bloom for me. Lichdom serves a purpose. There are dark things in creation, threats to both our world and the Fade. The Liches of the Necropolis have the insight and the abilities to oppose them.
And you're joining them when?
Certain elements have held me back. There's no ready instructions for Lichdom. The steps must be discovered on one's own over years to be fully understood.
Does the spell to become a lich kill you, or do you have to...
No, mercifully, that falls to another Watcher. After my death, my soul will be drawn back into my body instead of moving on to whatever lies beyond.
So, what's holding you back from lichdom?
Even with all my preparations, there's a chance I could die permanently during the rites. What cowardice! A promise of immortality, an end to all my fears, and the fight.
That's interesting that the end to all of his fears basically forces him to face that fear sooner. Makes a certain amount of sense, really.
Final veil stays my hand.
From what he's describing, it does not sound like liches are evil in this world. In fact, it sounds like They're kind of like superpowered good guys, so to speak. I'm debating between... Part of why I'm hesitating is because I don't know where the dialogue for the fear of dying makes sense is going. Because it does. But what I want is a combination of the two. Like, it makes sense that you're afraid of this, but also you want something big, you usually have to take risks, sort of thing.
If you want lichdom that badly, you have to go for it.
I always thought I'd find the courage when I grew older. Traditionally, candidates for lichdom face one final sifting of the soul. If they avoid it, you saw my old colleague.
Hezenkos. She's a lich.
A half-lich, though that hasn't diminished her powers. Until I stop her plans, I won't possess the peace of mind for lichdom. Why don't you select the next flowers, Rook?
Sure. So what's a half-lich exactly?
Johanna attempted the rites of lichdom and failed. Stuck in her in-between state, she is supremely dangerous, but can't learn any new magic.
No wonder Hezenkos was shouting so much.
Oh, she's always been that way.
What about the sifting of a soul that Hezenkos avoided?
The spirits of the necropolis judge whether a candidate is worthy of the power and responsibility of lichdom.
How'd she become a lich without it?
I shared some knowledge when we were colleagues. She apparently put together more than I knew. It would be just like her to skip the rituals, the cleansings, the preparations of the soul.
For a watcher, Hezenkos is pretty harsh on spirits.
We made allowances because of her discoveries. Too many. Spirits are not things to be disposed of.
You really care about them.
This
So she was full on an A+ student in terms of book stuff, but lacked the moral code
so susceptible to
that
the
they'd want
world's
to go with it, I guess.
whims, Rook. Some spirits are dangerous, but how quickly most respond to a bit of kindness or care or simple attempt to understand. For all she's done, I can't condemn Johanna for attempting lichdom. That freedom from mortality, that divorce from fear. And of course, time to read all of one's books.
Of course.
But how she's abused her abilities. Are my intentions enough to fare better?
Worrying's a good sign.
I mean, yes. Being worried about it is an excellent sign. I don't think anybody who lacked the morals, or who had that moral lacking, would be so worried about lacking it, if that makes sense. Like, I'd be willing to bet Johanna never actually I bet it never actually occurred to her to worry about any of that. I bet she might have worried about, like, whether people thought she had enough, but only because they might, like, stand in her way. Goodness gracious. Oh, there we go. Jeez.
We have enough flowers. There's something I'd like to show you. Here we are.
Oh, so these flowers are for...
Yes. If you could place them on the graves, please.
In memory of Rupert and Eleonora Volcarin, they walk eternity hand in hand.
After I became a watcher, I erected a proper shrine to my parents. When I come to talk, I like to think they listen. Well, don't be shy. Introduce yourself.
Rook, it's a pleasure. Do you remember your parents?
Some memories are bright. Others are akin to those dim early morning dreams one gets sometimes. Lately, I wondered what they'd think of our current course. The choices ahead.
Your lichdom.
What would they have wanted me to be?
Good question. No idea. Not very helpful of an answer.
I can tell you what I think they'd want you to be.
What's that?
Happy. You could always speak with your folks, couldn't you?
My parents last saw me as a boy. By the time I mastered my corpse whispering, I was a man. If I woke them, there might be a flash of recognition, or... Besides, if I speak to too many other spirits, Manfred might grow jealous.
Can't have that.
He'd be impossible, I agree.
See. I mean, critical hits is good, but also cooldowns are just top tier for me at the moment, I think. Maybe it's just because I haven't had the care or the mental energy to delve into all of the many statuses and conditions and things, the minor ones. At least not this time around. Maybe next playthrough I'll focus on conditions and stuff more.